Yes, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, good morning, everyone. I think I welcome you all for today's session. Today is the 18th day of this training program, and we have two expertise today. Dr. Santosh Verse is Assistant General Manager, Quality Operations, Winkies India Limited, Food Division, Pune. As you all know that this is number one company in poultry meat processing. He will be speaking on the regulatory aspects of food processing in India with a special reference to meat and the poultry processing. Another speaker, Mr. Prashant Wagmare, is Assistant General Manager, Agriculture, that is APEDA, Export Development Authority, is now shifted to New Delhi and having the charge of the organic produce of agriculture. But he is busy with the foreign delegates, so he'll be not delivering today. Is or
Thank you, sir. Uh, Dr. Santosh Vadse, he is working as Assistant General Manager, Quality Operations, Venki's India Limited, Food Division, Pune. And currently he is working in Venki's India Limited and heading quality operations. He completed his BVH and Age from Nagpur Veterinary College, and he was the gold medalist in our batch. And post graduation in veterinary public health, uh, Mumbai Veterinary College, and he was also during that time he was topper in our batch. His PG research work on prevalence of Listeria species from meat of common food animals. He has published his research articles in reputed journal. He has having more than 20 years of industry experience with major part of poultry processing, also performing important role as national level resource person for FASTAC special course, that is poultry meat and meat products. As I told, I know him very well because he is my undergraduate as well as postgraduate batchmate, and he is very sincere, very hard worker. He has many achievements. I know, as I told, he was the gold medalist and very hard worker and sincere and very good human being. So, with this few is important his achievements, I request him, welcome and request him to deliver his talk on regulatory aspects of food processing in India, special reference to meat and poultry processing. Dr. Santosh, please.
Uh, to all of you, hope I am audible.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So first of all, I wish to extend my thanks to organizing committee for inviting me for this training program and for allowing me to share my thoughts on my topic. So I will share my screen first. It may be through central or it may be through state authority, depending upon your capacity or what you are going for central license or registration or state license. Then along with that, we required another various statutory requirements, that is factory license, then pollution control board consent for air and water is required to run the factory. Then if you are having boiler, then you will require boiler certificate. Then EIA is an export inspection agency. So this is optional certificate, and it must be there for the units which are exporting the product to other countries. For them, it is very essential. Then again, it is in two parts, like for EU countries and non-EU countries, and the requirements are according to that. Then if somebody is using groundwater for processing, then he has to take groundwater approval. from Central Groundwater Authority. Then wherever your factory is located, you have to take the no objection certificate from local body. It may be either local Gram Panchayat or municipal corporation. Then along with that, we also required some requirements of Legal Metrology Act. And in Legal Metrology Act, there are various requirements they have given about stamping of weighing scale. And if you are using some weighing scale at your factory, then you have to do stamping, kind of calibration every year. But along with that, the important which is required for food factory is legal metrology, that is pack commodity rules. So the things which we have to print on our packet of the product. So all these requirements, they are specified under this legal metrology pack commodity rules. Apart from this, nowadays you must be hearing about plastic waste management. So again, this pollution control board, they have given they have now made it compulsory that every processor who is generating plastic or who is using the plastic, he has to register with CPCB or State Pollution Control Board with respect to plastic waste management. So that I will brief in the last about in little about this. So let's go for our that is first part, like regulatory requirement, that is FSSAI. So today we are majorly going to cover about the FSSAI requirement for meat and poultry processing. So before coming up existence of these FSSAI requirements, there were a total 8 different regulations. They were working separately, but after in the 2006, this act has come, Food Safety and Standard Act, FSSA, and then they brought all these 8 different regulations under one umbrella, that is called as FSSA Act, Food Safety and Standard Act 2006. But though this act is come in 2006, but actual implementation, it has happened in 2011. So under the authority of Food Safety and Standard Authority of India, FSSAI. Broadly, everyone now knows what is FSSAI. So it is under FSSAI Act 2006, and the implementation of this regulation is from 2011. So I have given the preview of this website of this FSSAI. So you can log into this FSSAI website, and then you can see all the requirements which are under this regulation. You can go find the requirements on this website. So website is fssi.gov.in. So the concept is one nation, one food law. So with this concept, this FSSAI has come up with this all requirements of. Now in FSSAI, the role of food factory is like he is considered as food business operator. So who is the food business operator? So as per FSSAI Act 2006, food business operator is the person by whom the business is run or owned and is responsible for implementing the mandatory sanitary and hygienic requirements. So whoever person, either he is running the business or he is owning the business. So both are called as a food business operator, and then he has to follow certain requirements of FSSAI. That the major requirement is he need to, before starting of his business or before starting the production, he has to take the FSSAI license or registration depending upon his capacity. Then he has to follow the requirements given under this FSSAI regulation. That is mainly, it major covers the Schedule 4 requirements, and then he has to display the sector specific food display boards. So FSSAI has given, so for every sector, different kind of display boards they have specified that we have to display. So the major requirement is not only related to processing, but it is production, processing, distribution, and up to sale. So the responsibility of food business operator is from production up to the sale of the product. He has to take the responsibility of his own product. So in brief, these are the responsibilities that no FBO should manufacture, store, process, or sell any article of food without license or registration. He should not sell the unsafe food, the food which is misbranded, substandard food, prohibited foods, or any food which is in contravention with the requirement of this act and regulation. So all these kind of foods is not allowed to sell by or manufacture by FBO. Then he should not employ any person having any kind of infectious diseases, because that persons may act as a source of infection to food, through food to different to many persons. So any persons who is having infectious disease, he should not be allowed to work in production facility. And then along with when we send our products to the market, along with product, we have to send one guarantee letter in the form of Form E. So that guarantee letter is also available on the FSSAI website. So what we have to guarantee is guarantee to the nature and quality of food what we are sending to the market. That we have to take the guarantee. Then this is a brief about this FSSAI requirement. Then now we will go in detail about licensing and registration of food business operator. So in this part, we will see how we have to take the license or registration. Then what is the eligibility criteria? Then application requirement. So what documents you will require to do the application on FSSAI website, and then conditions of the license. So once you take the license, then along with license, you have to follow certain rules and regulation. So that is mentioned under your license. So let's see about how to take the license or registration. So this is the website of FSSAI. Earlier it was called as like FLRS. Now it has converted into FOSCOS. So this is the website of FSSAI where we have to apply for license. So initially we have to do registration, and after registration then we have to log in, and once you log in, then you will see this dashboard with your login. Then in that there are different sections like license. If you see at left side, license on registration, renewal, modification, surrender or transfer of your license. Then food consumer grievance. So if some consumer they complain about your food in market, so he can log in on FSSAI website and he can put complaint online there. So if he put our FSSAI license number there, then automatically this complaint will be visible in your login. Then annual return. So all this section we are going to see, but these are the options which are available in your login. Then inspection, then quarterly return for exporter. Now this quarterly return for exporter is directly as become as annual return, so no need to go for quarterly returns. Then audit management, hygiene management. So all these sections are there. So through this portal we have to apply for license. Then once we apply for license with all required documents, then it goes for processing, and then you will see status of license here in this portal only. And once the license is issued, then you will also able to see the license on this portal. So when we want to apply for license, and mainly with respect to meat and poultry industry, then we should know which kind of food category we are going to produce or manufacture in our factory. So for meat, they have given they have mentioned there is one category or Indian food code system under 8. They have given category for meat and meat products including poultry. So there are many categories like fresh, frozen, chilled, ground meat. Then so by selecting this category, you have to apply for your license. So this category automatically come when you will fill your license and when you will fill the product details. In that product details, you will in drop down all this category will come, and then you have to select appropriate category as per your production process, and then you have to fill that form. So these category are very much important because these are required, because whenever you are taking license, you should include all your products under this category. So all products should covered under this category. Then to decide whether you will get registration or state license or central license, they have given certain criteria. For large animal, registration up to 2 animals. If you are slaughtering, then you have to go for registration. If you are slaughtering between 3 to 50, then you have to go for state license. And if the large animal capacity, slaughtering capacity is more than 50, then you have to go for central license. So once you put your this data in the when you register and when you go for new license, and when you put this data, automatically it will direct whether you have to go for registration or state license or central license. Similarly, if it is a small animal like sheep and goat, then up to 10 animals you have to go for registration. Up to 11 to 150 small animals, you have to go for state license, and more than 150 you have to go for central license. In case of poultry, up to 50 poultry birds, then you have to take registration. From 51 to 1000 birds, you can go for state license, and if you are slaughtering more than 1000 birds per day, then you have to go for central license. And if you are doing value added products, in that case, then the licensing, which kind of license, it depends on turnover. If your turnover is up to 12 lakhs per annum, then you can go for registration. If it is more than 12 lakhs, then you have to go for state license or central license. Again, along with turnover, there is capacity is also linked. So up to 500 kg if you are producing per day, then you have to go for state license. If your production capacity or production approval you want more than 500 kg per day, then you have to go for central license. So based on this criteria, then the website will direct you to registration or state license or central license. Basis of that, you have to apply for license, and then you will get the license according to that category, either registration, state license or central license. Then when we do the license application, so along with that we have to give some certain documents. So what all the documents they are required, the major I have listed here, like layout plan for with dimension. Then you have to show some unit photographs also. Then along with that, name and list of the equipments or machinery which we are going to use in our facility. Then water test report as per IS 10500, latest water report, not older than 6 months. Then proof of possession. So here, like you can either show electricity bill or your rent agreement or anything. Then you have to you should have food safety management system plan or certificate or self-declaration. So either you can you should have a HACCP certificate or ISO certificate or FSSA certificate. And if you are not having all these certificates, then you have to give your self-declaration. Then you have to develop your recall plan, and that recall plan also you have to upload with this application. Then photo ID and address proof of authorized signatory. So when we fill the application, so there are two persons details they are required. One is authorized person, and one is the nomination, the person who is responsible for complying with the requirements of this regulation. He is called as nominee. So these two person can be one person or maybe different person. So details of photo ID and address proof of authorized person, along with that form 9, that is called as nomination form. So that nomination form is also we need to upload. Then declaration form. So the format of this declaration form is already there on the website. Then along with that, NOC from local body or municipality. So wherever your factory is located, so whatever responsible local body, you have to take the NOC from that local body. Then also we have to upload a no objection certificate from Pollution Control Board, or either your MPCB means State Pollution Control Board, or CPCB certificate you have to upload here, consent copy. Then source of raw material, if you are adding category of processed food in your license, then you need to specify which raw material you are going to use, and then source of that raw material. Also, we have to fill from which authorized vendor you are going to purchase that, because all these things are required, because as per FSSAI requirement. So whatever raw material you are procuring, that should be from FSSAI approved license supplier only, or wherever you are selling, they should also have FSSAI license. So before you and after you, both should have FSSAI license or registration. Then in case of if you are using the groundwater for your processing, then you have to take NOC from Central Groundwater Authority. That NOC also we have to upload in the along with application. So once you upload these documents, then it will go for payment option. So that if like for central license, the yearly fees around 7,500. So you can take license from 1 year up to 5 years, depending on your wish. So according to, you have to pay the fee, and then your application will be submitted to FSSAI website. Then once your application is submitted, then after a certain period, maybe 15 days or within 1 month, or it may be some queries will come again back. They will ask some queries, then we have to reply to that queries. And once everything, all requirements are fulfilled, then the FSSAI will issue a license to a food business operator. So along with that license, there will be certain conditions which we have to follow. So all these conditions will be on your license. But the important requirements are you have to follow all the requirements of Schedule 4, Part 4 requirements, which are particularly required for this meat and poultry. Then you have to do the water testing every 6 months for potable water testing for IS 10500. Then you have to whatever the persons working in your facility, you have to give them a training under portal called as FASTAG. So for at least 25 person, one food safety supervisor should be trained. Then along with that, you have to fill annual return every year. So every year before 31st May, you have to fill the annual returns of last year. And then the important one is food handlers. Whatever food handlers they are working in our facility, we have to do the annual medical health checkup for them. So these are the major requirements. Other requirements are also there, but if you follow the Schedule 4 requirements, then you will fulfill all these requirements of conditions of license. Then this is all about license. So once you take the license, once you receive the license, then you have to follow the operational requirements. So in operational requirements, their major, it is called as Schedule 4 requirements. Then you have to follow all food safety management system requirements. Then FASTAG training, medical health examination, annual return, food safety auditing. And there is another regulations which is on used cooking oil. So that is about disposal of used cooking oil or UCO. So all these operational requirements we have to comply when we run the factory, when we run the food factory or meat or poultry processing factory. So we will see one by one in brief. So what requirements, or in day-to-day working, what requirements we have to follow, what rules, what regulations we have to follow about this FSSAI, they all are given under general hygienic and sanitary practices to be followed by FBO. So that is Schedule 4. So in FSSAI requirement, Schedule 4, it speaks about general hygienic and sanitary practices which we have to follow. Under that Schedule 4, they have given different part. For poultry processing or meat processing, the required part is Part 2, which is for all general food industries, and Part 4 is specifically for meat and poultry, meat and meat products. So in Part 4, again they have divided into slaughterhouse and meat processing unit. Then they have also given requirements for retail meat shop, And then they have again recently they have added requirements for small slaughterhouse. Small slaughterhouse means the slaughterhouse which is having state license or registration. For them, they have given some little relaxation than the central license. And then there is also part 5, which is specifically for catering sector. So for us, for today's topic, the important part is part 2 and part 4. So whatever requirements given under this part 2 and part 4, that we have to follow in our day-to-day operations. And it is nothing is different. It is only GMP, GHP requirements and whatever your food safety management system requirements. So all these requirements, they are specified under this part 2 and part 4. So in short, what is there in part 2 and part 4 is about location, surrounding of premises, layout requirements, then requirements about equipments and machinery, how it should be, then sanitary facility requirements and practices, what we have to follow, how should be the water supply, how should be the walls, floors, drainage, toilet requirements, then personal facility, how you have to maintain air quality, then light intensity, then laboratory requirements. So all these are defined here. Then audit documentation and record keeping, then personal hygiene practices, cleanliness, how you have to follow the cleaning and sanitation program, then health checkup, then also training part, pest control, then pre-slaughter care, this is what animal welfare practices during loading, transportation, then antemortem inspection, postmortem inspection, and operation and control, like if we are for process product, is raw material procurement, storage, temperature requirement, packaging, technical stuff. So all these requirements, they are specified under this part 4 and part 2. So part 4 is specific for meat and meat products. So all these requirements, so it is nothing different than our GMP, GHP and food safety management system. So food safety management system, I think after my this presentation, there is a complete presentation of food safety management system. So I will not speak much more on this. So it is nothing but your good hygienic practices, good manufacturing practices, and what control measures you have to present to prevent the food hazards. So that is HACCP. So all this together is called as food safety management system. Then after food safety management system, the FASTag. FASTag is nothing but the training module which is there on FSSI portal. So as I said earlier that we need to train all our supervisor or food handlers who are handling the food or meat as per the FSSI requirements. So in FASTag portal, the FSSI given the requirements for this training purpose, and the requirement is for each 25 worker, you should have one food safety supervisor. So earlier that food safety supervisor, he needs to do retraining after every 2 years, but now that rule has changed. And now once you take the certificate for food safety supervisor, then it is valid till he work in same sector. So in FASTag or where in training modules, that FASTag training is divided into mainly 3 parts: the basic training, advanced training, and special training. So this criteria, again, it depends on which kind of industry is there. So for street food vending persons, they have to go for basic training. For catering also, they have to follow this. Then for advanced, then any manufacturing unit, general food manufacturing, they have to go for advanced. And where high risk food is there, like milk and milk products, meat and poultry, fish and seafood, packed drinking water, oil, bakery. So in this high risk food, we have to go under special training. So likewise, this meat and poultry, it also comes under special training course of FASTag. So this is the website of FASTag. So where we can create our user ID, then we can after creating user ID, then you will see lots of training there. Then you can select any training partner, and then you can go for this training. So for every 25 food handlers, you should have minimum one trained food safety supervisor. That is FSS. And what is covered under this FASTag training is nothing but Schedule 4 requirements, GMP, GHP, and HACCP requirement. That is FSMS system. So whole complete FSMS system is covered under this FASTag training. Then after FASTag training, the main operational requirement is medical examination of food handlers. So FSSAI has given some specified format for this medical certificate, and this we have to do every year on annual basis, and also at the time of if we are employing someone at the first time, then that time, and then every year we have to do this medical examination. So in that mainly it covers physical examination, eye test, skin examination, then compliance with schedule of vaccination against enteric group of diseases which are prevalent in your area. So all this, and then once you get this medical examination certificate, and once it is stated that this person is fit for to work in food industry or meat industry, then we can employ such persons. Or every year we have to ensure that they are safe, they are fit for work in food industry. Then annual return, as we said that every year we have to file the annual return on website. Earlier it was manual, now it is online. So when you do login through your login, then you will see there is one options to fill the annual returns. Then this annual return we have to fill before 31st May, and all the data of last year, means last year April to March this year, that we have to fill on this website. Then what things we will require to do the annual returns. So number of food handlers employed, so that number we have to fill there. Then number of FASTag trained person, so all that name along with their certificate number, that we have to fill on the website. Then last inspection or audit details. So we are going to see that audit requirement. So FSSAI has made it mandatory for high risk food sector that we have to conduct audit as per FSMS or as per Schedule 4 requirements from external parties, external certification bodies, and that certification body should be approved, or it should be in the list of FSSAI. So FSSAI has given some certain approval, or they have published a list who will be the third party certification body. From them only we have to conduct the audit, and these audit details we have to enter here. Then if any change in layout, recall plan, process, FSMS certificate, that we have to enter there. Then consumer grievances. So as I said earlier, so when you will log in, then you will see that if somebody has complained about your product, then it will be visible on your website in your login. So that also, whether you address that complaint or not, that you have to fill here. Then details of productions. So what capacity, so whatever food different categories you have selected, according to that you have to fill the data about your production. If you have done any export, then that data also we have to fill. Then along with that, you also need to upload the certificates. So like we have seen in condition of license, we have seen in the condition of license
Participant,
that
please,
every 6 months
please mute yourself. Yeah,
hello.
please continue. Yes.
Every 6 months we have to do the testing of our food products, even water. So that report of every 6 months, that we have to upload here. Then RM vendor, raw material, if you are purchasing some raw material, that details of that vendor we have to put it here. And it is not only name, but you have to also put the license, FSSAI license of that vendor also. As I said, so if we are in middle, so one step behind us, that is from whom we are purchasing raw material, he should be also having FSSAI license, and to whom we are selling, he should also have FSSAI license or registration. So here all your raw material supplier, they should be certified with or they should have this FSSAI license. That details we have to fill here. Then water test report, then product test report category wise, and then if you have some internal lab details, that also we have to fill. So after filling all this information, then we can submit the annual return. And this is mandatory. If we do not fill this before 31st May, then every day there will be some fine. The days, how many days you will make it late or after due date, that much fine will be applicable to you. And all this will be online now. Then food safety auditing, as I explained earlier, that FSSAI has made for high risk food, they have made it compulsory that we have to audit our facility through certification body which are specified by FSSAI. So regularly, every like all these central license holding facility, they have either FSSAI certificate or ISO certificate, but that is not sufficient. Along with that, we have to do it the separate audit from the parties or the certification bodies which are specified by FSSAI. So that list of certified bodies, it is on the website of FSSAI. From them, every year, annually, we have to do the audit, and that audit is based on Schedule 4 requirements, then sector specific checklist. So the checklist is also available on the website, that which checklist the auditor has to follow. And if some observation is there, then that will be in either major or minor form. If major observation is there, then immediately that third party has to report that to FSSAI on the website, online only. And then audit frequency, it will next audit frequency, it will depend on your score. So suppose your score is between 81 to 100%, then next audit frequency will be after 12 months. Then if it is 51 to 80, then you have to repeat the audit after 9 months. And if it is below 50%, then you have to repeat the audit after 6 months. Then about used cooking oil disposal. So everybody know that used cook oil. Earlier there was some people, they used to do the practice that they use the oil, and after it become like dark in color or not suitable for them, then they used to sell it in the market. And maybe some people, then they try to again use that oil for making some different food products. So to control that, or to control the use of this used cooking oil in food chain, again this FSSAI come up with one regulation, and then they have given some certain guidelines to how to dispose this used cooking oil, or it is called as UCO. So what this guideline says, that avoid repeated use of cooking oil for frying. Then if you are using oil and if it is on continuous basis, then you have to monitor the TPM, total polar compound of the oil. And when this total polar compound, it exceeds 25%, that stage you have to discard the oil. Earlier that many people, they used to monitor free fatty acids, but now this total polar compound parameter, it is nationally or internationally, it is well accepted and it is known to everyone. So now they have made this parameter as like criteria whether oil is good or not for further use. So when you always use the oil on continuous basis, and when this total polar compound, it went above 25%, that stage you have to discard the oil. Then for small FBO, if they are like heating the oil once, then they are keeping it, then again they are heating. In that case, they have made it compulsory that they should not heat it more than 3 times. Then many like small hotel peoples, they used to dispose this oil in drains or sewage system. So that is again prohibited. Now for that, this FSSAI has published a list who will be authorized vendor to collect this used cooking oil. So that list is also available on FSSAI website, and all this, mainly this central license persons, all these the persons who are using this used cooking oil, they have to dispose it in dispose it to only that FSSAI authorized agencies. Only we have to give to them. We should not allow it to bring back in our food system again, food chain. So we have to give this used cook oil to that authorized vendors only. Then after process requirement, now we will see the product compliance requirement. So in this product compliance requirement, it is mainly the standard food category and food additives. Then to use the food additives, they have given annexure A, then microbial requirements, chemical testing requirements, and labeling requirements. So with respect to meat and meat products and poultry, so FSSAI has come up with 15 different standard food category. So you have to say where your product fall under this category. If the your product falls under standard food category, then you need not to much worry then, because it is standardized food as per FSSAI, and then you can produce that food. But if something is not as per requirement under this category, then that product is called as proprietary food, and then in that case that complete responsibility is that FBO. For egg, there are 5 categories, subcategories, standard food categories, and for fish also, but we are not concerned about fish today. So for meat, it is 1 to 15 categories. So you can see for there is different category for rabbit meat, also pork, beef, churn, and goat, sheep, mutton. Then for poultry, it is also again different. Then for processed product, it's marinated meat products, fermented meat products, then comminuted or restructured meat products. So all sausages, all these things will come under this. So all these 15 category are there. So you have to see that your product should fall under this 15 category. And as I said, if something is not falling under that 15 categories, then your product will be called as proprietary food. And then in that case, then what you have to do in proprietary food, you have to use ingredients and additives which is only specified or which is only allowed by FSSAI. You cannot use any other ingredient or any other additives which is not there in the FSSAI requirements. Then it should comply with Appendix B requirements, that is microbiological requirements. And here the responsibility is fully of that food business operator. If any concern in market about safety of this product comes, then it is responsibility of this FBO only. Then after this standard food, then there is one Indian food code system, or you can call it as annexure A. So in annexure A, what they have specified, that is what food additives we have to use in our products. So as per this category, we have to see in which category in which Indian food code system your product is falling, and then under each this category, then they have specified allowed some food additives, which food additives we have to use. So that annexure A consists of table of these additives which are allowed in our food category, and along with that there is also one GMP table. So in that GMP table, they have given certain additives that can be used in all food categories, and also there is no limit for use. But whatever additives they are specified under this table 8.1, 8.2, or 8.3, then they have given some certain limits, like we are using nitrites, phosphates, then they have given limits, we have to use below that limit only. So all these additives, they are specified under this annexure A. Then microbiological requirements. In microbiological requirements, they have broadly specified this requirement into process hygiene criteria and food safety criteria. This process hygiene criteria, it is applicable up to the stage of packaging, so up to factory level. And then food safety criteria, it applicable to factory level as well as distribution, retail, and consumption. So till it goes to the consumer. So up to that stage, means from production to consumption, these food safety criteria, they are applicable. So these are the requirements of the FSSAI for meat and poultry. So these are the process hygiene criteria. In that you have to, for meat and poultry, it is applicable is aerobic plate count, yeast and mold, E. coli and Staph aureus. So they all come under hygienic requirements. And in food safety criteria, Salmonella, Listeria, sulfite reducing Clostridia, Clostridium botulinum, and Campylobacter. So again, it depends on which food category is there. So if we see process hygiene criteria, on left side you will see different 1 to 9 food categories. So as per your food category, the applicable standards are there. In that, in brief, I will just explain. There is sampling plan N and C, and then limits M, small m and capital M. So what is N? N is a total number of sample. C is allowable samples between small m and capital M. Small m is like this is what we can call as safety limits, or we should always have our counts of this organism below this m, small m. But if our count goes above small m, then we have to follow this sampling plan. So which is C is allowed, how many samples they are allowed as per C, that we have to see. If they are falling between small m and capital M, then that sample is okay. But if something is above capital M, then that sample is not as per the FSSAI requirements. The same way it is also applicable to food safety criteria, but in food safety criteria mostly they are absent or present. So if only one organism is also there, and if it is having food safety concerns, then it is not allowed. Then along with microbiological requirement, they have FSSAI has specified different chemical testing requirements also. In that, mainly the antibiotics and veterinary drugs residues. So they have given it is in two parts. The one is ban antibiotics, which should not be there or which should not be used at farm level, and it is only list. Along with list, we have to also monitor them. We have to do the regular testing every 6 months. We have to test our products for these banned antibiotics, their residues. Along with that, they are given the residue limits for certain antibiotics which can be used. So these are the all antibiotics. So all these banned as well as these other antibiotics, we have to monitor every 6 months for each product, and we have to do the testing either from your internal lab or from external FSSAI notified lab, which should be enabled accredited. From that lab, we have to do the analysis for this antibiotics testing, residue testing. Then along with that, we have to also monitor pesticide residue testing. So all these pesticides, they are specified along with their limits in FSSAI regulation. That limits we have to follow, residue limits. Then along with that, heavy metals, we have to do testing for heavy metals. Then along with heavy metals, the knots and other contaminants like total aflatoxin, aflatoxin B1, safrole, and melamine. So all these chemical parameters we have to test every 6 months from our products. Then important requirement is like this is the information which goes along with your product in the market. So whenever you make a consumer product, so you have to pack in suitable packing material, and then you have to print some important or mandatory information on the packet. So mainly these packets or products which goes in the market, it is classified into two packs, that is retail pack, which is directly for consumer, and non-retail packs means which goes to institution or industrial sale. So on retail pack, so these requirements like name of the food and standard name of the food. Then if it is proprietary food, then in that case we have to also put food category, like what food category we have seen 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, that category also we have to put. Then list of the ingredients. So whatever while making the process that product, which are the ingredients we have used, that we have to put in descending order. Then nutritional information. So what parameter is required as for nutrition analysis, there it is specified in the FSSAI regulation that we have to put. Then the important is declaration regarding veg and non-veg logo. So now that recently this non-veg logo is modified. Earlier it was round in the center, now it has made triangle. then a name and address of the manufacturer, then FSSI logo and your license number or registration number, then net quantity, retail sale price, consumer complaint details, then lot number or batch number, date of marking means manufacturing date and expiry date or use by date. Then if it is imported food, then we have to put country of origin. Along with that, we have to also give instructions for use, means how to use your product. Then declaration regarding food allergens. So along with the list of ingredients, we have to also declare list of food allergens. It may be either in the may contain or as a direct allergen. So if it is directly added in the food, then you can mention as contains and then you can write the name. And if it is not directly added in the food, but it is present in your facility, then you have to say may contain. And then if some foods are there in the market, it is like, it looks like food, but it is not for human consumption. Like we are getting oil in market, but it is not for consumption, human consumption, but it is for non-human consumption use. Then in that case, we have to put one cross logo is there, that way it should be there on the packet, which specifies that this food is not for human consumption. And then for non-retail packs, so for non-retail packs which goes to institutions or industrial sale, so we have to mention it is for non-retail container. So on non-retail container, the MRP is not required. Along with that, the whatever information I have mentioned under this retail pack, the only blue highlighted information is required on this non-retail pack. Other information you may give or you may not give. So it is not compulsion to give all this information. Only blue highlighted information we have to give on non-retail pack. Then I am just telling brief about legal metrology because it is also part of labeling. So along with FSSI requirements, we have to follow certain legal metrology requirements to be printed on the packets. So in that, the important requirements is this name and address of manufacturer, common or product name, then net quantity, month and year of manufacturing, then retail sale price and consumer care details. So out of that, some requirements, they are common with FSSAI, but the very specific requirements which we have to follow of legal metrology is net quantity, retail sale price and consumer care details. Because when we either decide whether it is as per legal metrology or as per FSSAI, because font height, how much there should be a height of the font, that is also depend on which regulation that is applicable. So net quantity, retail sale price and consumer care details, that this information should become as per legal metrology act on our packet. Rest all information we have to follow as per the FSSAI. Then in legal metrology also there is like retail packs where MRP is compulsory, and there are some non-retail packs which is called as industrial or institutional packages where all this information is not required. Even the packages about 25 kg, this legal metrological requirement is not required. Then the last one is plastic waste management. Very recently now this pollution control board, they are coming with very strong follow-up with this requirement, and now they have made it compulsory that every manufacturing unit which are using plastic or generating plastic, they must register with this CPCB board for this plastic waste management. And even now they have made it compulsory that the plastic manufacturer, they should not sell plastic to the factories if they don't have any license or registration as per this plastic waste management rules. So these plastic waste management rules, under this, I will only highlight important things. So whatever packing material you are sending to the market, so on that packing material, we have to put certain labeling or marking information on the your primary packet or primary packing material. So what is that information? So on that information, we have to put the license or registration number of the either brand owner, means the FBO, or the plastic manufacturer. Along with that, we have to mention the thickness of packing material. If it is used for normal packaging, then the minimum 50 micron thickness is required. And if it is carry bag, then presently it is 75 micron, but I think from 1st of January it will be 125 micron. Then in that plastic waste management rules, the important thing which is now for all this FBO is Schedule 2 requirements. So what is Schedule 2 requirements? Schedule 2 is nothing but EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility. So what is this? So whatever plastic we are generating through our products or the products going in the market, we have to take the responsibility to collect that plastic generated from that products. So at present, it is not, we have to not collect it by our own, but we have to collect it through some certain specified agencies. So for that, everybody has to, means plastic manufacturer or this brand owner, or if we are importing some plastic material or some products from the outside country, and then plastic waste processor. So all they have to do registration with this CPCB board. So again, it depends on how many state you are operating. If it is 2 state you are operating, then it will be registered with central state board, and if it is more than 2 state, then it will be with CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board. So once you do the registration, then during registration you have to give the data of last 2 years there, data of how much product you send to the market, how much plastic is generated from that, from whom you have purchased this plastic. So all that data you have to put in the system. Basis of that, then they will give you the target for recollection of this plastic. So for recollection of plastic, we have to appoint a plastic waste processor, which is registered on this CPCB website. From them only we have to collect the plastic from the market and on behalf of us. And for that quantity, we have to get the certificate from this plastic waste processor for how much quantity is target given to us by CPCB. For that quantity, we have to take the certificate. And for this certificate, this CPCB board, they have divided this plastic material into 4 categories. Category 1 is rigid plastic, means something like drums, plastic drums. Then category 2 is single or multi-layer plastic, where all layers of plastic material is plastic. Category 3 is multi-layer packaging, means again here more than one layer, but in that one layer should be other than plastic. If it is multi-layer but all layers are of plastic, then it will go to category 2. And if it one layer is other than plastic, then it will go to category 3. And category 4 is compostable. So according to this category, we have to do the registration. And as per this, then we will get the target, and then we have to fulfill it from that plastic waste processor. So this is brief about the regulatory requirements and some statutory requirements I have specified here. Now, if some questions is there, then you can ask.
Thank you so much, Dr. Santosh, for very excellent talk on the regulatory aspects of food processing. You have covered in detail and recent updated information on different the statutory and regulatory requirements for the food industry, as well as the food products, the standards, additives, and different microbiological standards for the testing requirements, as well as the information on the plastic waste management. So all this in detail. Definitely, all these participants, the faculties, PG and PhD students, as well as veterinarians, the scientists from ICR, they will get benefit of this very wonderful presentation, excellent information. Now, I request the participants, you can ask the questions. Participants, please. Raised, yeah. One question is there. Can you throw some light on raised? without antibiotics labeling.
Okay, as such, as per FSSAI, no labeling is required about this antibiotics on the packet. But some people, I think they are mentioning on the product that their products are antibiotic free. But I think the requirement is like antibiotic residue free, whatever limits they have specified by FSSAI. So if something is below that residue limits, then it's okay. But as such, there is no any compulsion to mention on the packet whether it is residue free or like antibiotic free or not.
Yes. Any other question? Participants can ask directly or they can write in chat box. Okay, I think all participants, they understood this very important topic. Uh, so thank you once again, Dr. Santosh, for your valuable time, valuable information, and enriched all these participants' knowledge about these all regulatory aspects and accepting our invitation and for your valuable time. Thanks you once again.
Thanks
Thank
to all the audience also. Thanks.
Thank you. Then regarding today's second lecture, as I told in the morning, Mr. Prashant Wagmare, Assistant General Manager, EPEDA, he supposed to give his talk, but as Dr. Jhende sir also informed that he is busy with meeting with the foreign delegates. We have requested the speaker of Miss 19th day. We have requested to Dr. Siddeshwar Rinde, and he has accepted our request, and now he is with us physically. His presence with us, that is very important. It's our greatness and it's our pleasure. Now, before I request to him for his presentation, I will just give a brief introduction about him. Dr. Siddeshwar Rinde, he has completed BVS and H from Nagpur Veterinary College. His post-graduation he has done in veterinary public health, and his topic of research was on detection of nitrofuran residues in tissues of common food animals. Currently, he is working with Vista Processed Foods Private Limited, an OSI group company, as plant quality assurance head, Pan India, based in Taloja, New Delhi. Navi Mumbai. He is working in food safety and quality assurance since 14 years. He started his career from Vista Processed Foods as quality assurance trainee and served Godrej Tyson Foods Limited as assistant manager food safety and quality assurance. Paradigm Services Private Limited as GM Training and Strategic Consulting. Global Government Private Limited as General Manager, that is technical. He is national level resource person for FASTAC poultry meat products and eggs. FASTAC trainer for safe use of antibiotics in poultry value chain. Advanced manufacturing and poultry meat and meat products. He is FSSC 22,000 lead auditor, has completed NABL and measurement of uncertainty training. He is assessing various organizations and food testing laboratories through CII National Award for Food Safety as Senior Assessor. He is volunteer by nature. His work includes areas such as food safety and quality assurance in veg and non-veg products, milk and milk products, food safety regulations, FSSAI, EU, USEDA, then FSSC 22,000, BRC food standard, ISO 9001, ISO 22,000, FMI QS, HACCP training and system implementation in IQF fruits and vegetable processing, aseptic and canned food, fruit processing, FAMI, QS, in feed additives manufacturing, different areas like again radiation processing of spices, marine, dry fruit, oil seed, pulses, and cereal processing, flour milling industry, frozen meat products, manufacturing, catering, food packaging, manufacturing, and designing of quality assurance laboratories of fruit and marine processing unit. So you can see his vast experience. Even he has published his articles in journals. He has many credits, awards, honors, and recognitions. Many achievements and are there. Only is short I have mentioned here. And the our great thing is that he is also student of this our veterinary public health department. So with this brief introduction, now I welcome and invite and request Dr. Siddheswar Inde to please continue his lecture. Dr. Siddheswar, please.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And I would welcome all again for this session, which is under 4-week certification course, which is related to enhancing livestock production and food safety through One Health approach. I would like to thank you, organizing team, for giving me opportunity to present this topic. Okay, and it's good to come back to department when you have studied. So I completed my post graduation in 2005, and I'm regularly uh, visiting department to gain some knowledge. So today's session, I'm just going to throw some light on some basic aspects of implementation of food safety management system in poultry processing. So we mainly are going to cover poultry processing, which is we can call it as a poultry slaughter. Okay, so the session which we are going to cover is having topics like concept of FSMS and various tools. We are going to discuss about plan, FSMS plan, which is including HACCP, risk assessment concepts, which we need to understand as a, uh, we can say, the team who's working on food safety, they need to understand the concept of risk assessment. Then we are going to look at some of the parameter by taking one example of critical area, uh, which is mostly we will cover the salmonella part in one step, and then related values. Okay, so what is the importance of those parameters and values we are going to cover, and then ultimately the summary of FSMS. Okay, so let's start with some of the definitions. Like food safety management system, it's a systematic approach. Okay, systematic word itself tells you that it has some structure. Okay, it has something which is aligned to a high level. Okay, so it's a systematic approach to controlling food safety hazards within a food business in order to ensure that food is safe to eat. Okay, so what we are talking about is food safety, and ultimately how it is being achieved, it is through a systematic approach. And considering that the entire activities which we are going to do in food industry is coming under FSMS. Okay, it's a system, food safety management system. Now, what is the requirement of where it is written? Now, the earlier lecture by Dr. Santosh was on regulatory aspects. Okay, so their requirement has been specified. Now, it's linked, and considering the food safety, we have regulation as well, which are to be complied with by each food business operator. So all food businesses are required to put in place. Okay, in place is important. That means that it has to be there in place, implement it, and maintain a FSMS based on the principles of HACCP. Now, when we talk about HACCP, ultimately the NASA, then 1960, and then story of astronaut, and then this comes up. Okay, so HACCP is very much important tool which we can use to ensure food safety, and there are requirement which has been specified by Codex. Okay, so we are going to understand that through a topic. Okay, so understanding FSMS is important for people who are working there, then researchers, then the academic team or industry team. So they need to understand. So base of any uh, system, or you can say the food safety management system, the base is the prerequisite program. Okay, so prerequisite programs include good manufacturing practices, good hygienic practices, good agricultural practices, good storage practices, and there can be various best practices followed by industry. So that becomes the base of that FSMS. Okay, then comes to then we go to HACCP, which is heart of a system. Okay, food safety management system. HACCP is a heart, because that is again, there are 5 prerequisites, 7 principles which are followed to ensure the food safety. So establishment of food safety, implementation, and ensuring that it is working, and we are checking that system. So all the standards which are there mainly follows the PDCA criteria, which is Plan, Do, Check, Act. Okay, any standard you take, it is aligned to that requirement. All the clauses are aligned to that requirement. And then finally FSMS. So FSMS as such, it's a apex thing which can be through various standards. Like you can see, FS can be implemented to the tools which are specifically designed, which are used in various industries. Okay, or you can say it is a structured approach. Okay, so 9001 2015 is one of the ISO standard which is talking about quality management. So it can be implemented, applied in any business. Okay, then there is a standard which is specific to food industry, which is ISO 22000. Okay, so that is again we can implement from farm to fork. It can be also implemented in packaging material used for food. So there is another standard specification. So TS ISO, so International Standard Organization for Standardization, has also adopted some of the technical specifications like 22002, which talks about uh, the base requirement like GP, GHP, which has been specified. Okay, and now there were various standards which are more stringent. See, any tool which is helping a business to implement food safety is good. Okay, but it's up to us how we use it. Okay, if because standard, there is no problem in standard, or there is no issue with the standard. It's us which are going to use that in a way uh, to ensure food safety. Okay, so there are standards like IFS. Okay, International Feature Standard is there. BRC, British Retail Consortium, that is again there is a global food safety standard. Then there is a SQ, Safe Quality Food Institute. They have devised the standard. So there are different standards, but what is most important here is how we implement it. And there were some you can say concerns to some countries that they were not accepting ISO 20000. They were saying we want BRC, we want IFS, we want SQF. Somebody was saying, okay, ISO is okay for us, HACCP is okay for us. So there are different views and requirements. So the requirement has been uh, adopted by a scheme which is FSSC 22000 through some of the uh, companies, some of the institutes. So they have adopted this, and they adopted ISO 22000 and ISO TS 20002 to make a scheme which is called as FSSC 22000. Okay, so that is also widely accepted, and there is a global food safety initiative like BRC is under global food safety initiative uh, requirement, and it meets that requirement. So FSSC 22000 also is now under global food safety initiative. So it's about the tools and standard. Now, majoritarily when we talk about ISO 20000, I'm just taking one of the example of FSMS standard, wherein you can see there are various clauses. Okay, so there are clauses in any standard. There are clauses, and these clauses mainly give a requirement which may be sometime generic, which might be sometime specific. Okay, so uh, to make it very simple, whenever standard says that shall be, so shall be means mandatory requirement, should be means suggested requirement, and must means it is recommended. Sorry, shall be means mandatory, should be means it's a recommended, and then must be means it's a you can say you can adopt it like it's suggested. Okay, so the clauses are as I told you earlier, that clauses are divided into plan, do, check, act. Okay, so you can see the fourth clause, and each clause has also got the plan, do, check, act cycle. Like you need to establish it. Okay, you need to implement it, you need to monitor it and initiate, monitor and verify it, and then you need to initiate the action. Okay, so there are clauses like context of the organization, which talks about what level they are involved, what are the areas, what is the scope. Then fifth clause talks about leadership, sixth clause talks about planning, then seventh clause talks about supporting. Okay, and the initial clauses like definition, scope, and references are there. First three clauses always in a standard, which are structured. There will be like references, definition, and then scope. Okay, so eight clause is about operations. Okay, that is actually doing. Okay, then performance evaluation, which is checking, and then acting, that is improvement. So when you say operational planning and control, so there are again different requirements which talks about PRPs, like prerequisite program, GMP, GHPs. Okay, traceability system, which is also a regulatory requirement, emergency preparedness and response, because any emergency can come, and the food business should be ready to face that emergency. Okay, and they need to test that emergency whether it is going to work in actual situation or not. Okay, then there is a hazard analysis, then validation of control measure, then we say HACCP plan, then verification planning. Okay, then this has to be when there is a plan, we need to implement it. Okay, so there can be further control on monitoring and measuring devices, like calibration part will come, then control of product and process non-conformities, that is handling of non uh, confirming product or potentially unsafe product will come. Then there will be verification activities, then annual verification, HACCP verification, internal audit is also part of verification. So that will come under verification activities. And then analysis of results of verification activities, and then updating. Now, uh, any improvement which is a continual. So when we say continual improvement is, that means we are improving and then uh, sustaining that, then again improving and sustaining. So ultimately the when we stop, then the continual improvement journey will not stop, it will just sustain, and then again next improvement will enhance it. Okay, so acting is very important in terms of updating continual improvement. Okay, so this is a structure. Okay, this is structure of one standard. It might differ for another standard, but base remains same. So when we say FSMS plan, so FSMS plan, already I told, base is prerequisite program, heart is HACCP principle, and there are documentation. So I'm explaining here you a practical example of how FSMS plan is being adopted by industry. Okay, so what is the purpose? See, the main purpose is to identify weaknesses of production line. Okay, so why we do this all the HACCP risk assessment, and also it's basically to identify weaknesses of production line, suggest critical limits in compliance with legislation, and prevent. Now, take an example of microbiological requirement for poultry meat and meat product, or meat and meat product, which is given in the regulation under table 5b, which was explained in earlier session. So take an example of salmonella. So salmonella has is a legislative requirement. It should be absent. So how? So that we are going to discuss it here. Okay. So we need to suggest critical limit, and the approach is to adopt those principles. Okay. Target is also to ensure zero defect products. Okay. So it's not feasible to achieve 100% defect free product, but yes, we can always aim because HACCP system aims at achieving those zero defect product. Okay. Zero food safety issues. Okay. And sanitation standard operating procedures, which are again part of PRPs, will help us to achieve that. Then HACCP plan, which covers total supply chain, farm to fork approach, which is inbound logistics through storage, processing, sanitation, and final use by consumer. Okay, so ultimately, whatever we do, if consumer is not cooking it well for the ready to cook product, so it can be a problem. So we need to take care of that by way of labeling it, giving clear instructions on the label. So that also become part of FSMS. So you can see any FSMS, there are uh, uh, three pillars which we can ensure to run that FSMS. Now you can see here there is documentation, there is infrastructure, and there is practice. Okay, so all three are required. These are of equal weightage. We can take 33% documentation, 33% infrastructure, and 33% practices. Okay, so ultimately our requirement with a commitment is FSMS. Okay, so documentation, there is a management system element which we have discussed. These are specifically uh, clauses. Okay, then there are apex SOPs which are to be customized for a particular organization, particular business, or you can say a particular uh, structure which is being getting implemented. So like there will be policies, procedures, work instructions, and format. So when the format is empty, it is a document, but when we fill it, it becomes a record. Okay, and record retention, all these things are there in documentation. So it's important because these are also evidences that we have implemented system, we have system in place. Okay, ultimately only SOP will not serve the purpose, but ultimately a record will demonstrate that we have implemented it. Okay, ultimately record is a final document. So all documents can be record, but all records may not be documents. So that's important here. So infrastructure is another thing, because whatever document practice is there, but infrastructure is not there, that might impact food safety. Simple thing like if we say that we have to prevent metal in finished product, then we should have metal detector. Okay, we say we have to prevent hair in the product, then we should have provision for hair nets, issuing hair nets to the team members. Okay, location is also important, structure is also important, facilities, equipment, because anything which is unsafe can contribute food safety hazard. Okay, so ultimately infrastructure is also important aspect. Now you have documentation, you have infrastructure, like world class infrastructure. Even we say, for example, take an example of hand wash. So hand wash can be done with a mug in a hand and simple soap, but when we go to industry, this is not practical. So what we do, we put taps, we put hand wash station wherein there is a soap, there is a sanitizer. Okay, there is a hand dryer, sometimes there is a tissue paper. So all these things is there, but people are not washing hand. That's a practice. Okay, that's if it is there but people are not washing hand, then it is of no use. Okay, so ultimately practice is a thing which is personal behavior dependent on human beings. So training, computer, um, then maintenance, cleaning, sanitation practices, personal hygiene practices, operational control practices, product information. Okay, and there is a consumer awareness and transportation. These are all practices which are important for FSMS. Okay. This is a typical documentation structure of FSMS, which you can see here. Manuals are there. Manuals can be FSMS manual. There is a you can say PRP manual. There can be a food fraud. Then there can be GMP manuals. Okay. Then there are policies and objectives. So policies, again, policies can be like company policy, food safety policy, glass policy, metal policy, personal hygiene policy, visitor policy. There can be a number of policies, okay, which organization feel it is organization specific and also cover the food safety. Then there can be food safety team, which is like there has to be a food safety team leader, food safety team, food safety definition. Now we need to define, because these are based on HACCP principle. There has to be emergency team. There has to be roles and responsibility clarity amongst the team member. They should acknowledge that clarity. And then there has to be validation team. Then there has to be animal and health welfare supervisor. Now this is particular to slaughterhouses. Okay, so this is again one position which is required to ensure, because animal welfare is there also in regulation. Then there can be GMP SSOPs. In SOPs, there in GMP SSOP there can be a standard operating procedure. There can be format. Okay. Then there are system procedures. Similarly, system procedure will talk about management review, internal audit. It will talk about uh, your handling of potential non-safe unsafe product. Then document control procedure, record control procedure. Okay. There are various mandatory procedures by the standard. So that is the reason I told you that whenever there is a shall be, so standard says that organization shall establish a documented procedure. So shall establish means it's mandatory. So likewise, any standard which is mentioning that we should have that procedure, and that procedure will come under system procedure. Then there can be processes, like processes, HR process, maintenance process, production process, quality assurance process. Then there can be logistic process, there can be purchase process, there can be sales process. Okay. So new product development process. So process is a particular function which is there. So that also need to have a procedure which is department specific, and there has to be formats related to the department. Okay. Then comes to HACCP, and CCP also will have different requirement, which we can discuss in few upcoming slides. And then miscellaneous is basically the requirement which are related to you can add references and various validation studies. Okay, so that will come under this miscellaneous. And you can see here now system procedure. Yeah, I have explained that document control, internal audit, handling, correction, corrective action procedures, then MRM procedure, emergency preparedness, food defense, food fraud, okay, control on outsource activities. All this will come under system. In processes, different departments, okay, the different functions, their SOPs, because each and everything which we do has to be written down. So it is standard always say what we say we do, what we do we say. So what we say means it's written. Okay, whatever you are doing it, you should write it, and whatever is written, you should do it. So that's the crux of the standard. So we should write whatever things are there. We should write whatever activity, even how the purchase request is given, how the quotations are being received, how the quotations are approved, okay, how the vendor is evaluated, how the vendor is approved in our system, how it is delisted. All these things are has to be written in that. Like example is purchase process, which I just now explained. Then coming to ASAP, there will be product description, there will be flowchart, hazard analysis, then there is a CCP plan, there is a OPRP plan, there is a verification planning, there is validation. So as this topic is about briefing you about the things, it's not in detail, but I just describe some of the formats. Like you can see system procedure, these are 15 SOPs here, and there are 23 records. Okay, some of the records are mandatory records, like document issue record, then customer feedback, shelf life records. So all these records are there, and it will be like system procedure will be similar to majority of the food industry, but specific function procedure will vary. Okay, industry specific. Even HACCP will also vary, which is industry specific, but principles and prerequisites are same. So just to refresh you, I understand you are from various sector and various functions as well. Industry people are also there, but just to refresh, there are 5. Okay, there are 5 prerequisites and 7 principles. Okay, so entire HACCP system or FSMS plan is based on this. Okay, so assembling team, describing the product, documenting intended use, how it is going to be used, constructing the flow diagram, on-site confirmation, and then we start with the first principle like conducting hazard analysis, then identifying critical control point, establishing critical limits, then establishing monitoring actions, then establishing corrective actions, establishing verification process, and record keeping. So 7 principle is record keeping, which we have already described that record keeping is important. It's a evidence that yes, we have implemented and we have system in place. Okay, so I'm not going to go into detail, but uh, HACCP is from farm to fork. Okay, or FSMS is from farm to fork. So even feed mills, now those who are from feed industry, I would like to ask them, or we can say request them, just look at getting HACCP implemented in your system in feed mill. So you see how much difference it makes. So any tool which is being uh, implemented for food safety is going to have impact to consumer. Okay, building farms, hatchery. Okay, so it's to be like there in place for all those areas, all those industries. You can also see poultry farm management practices. Now simple practices are there, like biosecurity area. Okay, these are again part of, we can consider as we say farm to fork, so we need to take care of all these things, like biosecurity management is there. uh, uh, then the health of the bird. Okay, the location of the broiler house. So all these things are important, and each step is important to ensure food safety. So this is generic poultry processing, because we are talking about poultry processing. So it's a generic poultry processing flowchart. We have been from farm lifting, a bird comes to the bird receiving area, which is usually called as lairage, and then from hanging, then stunning, then slaughtering, then bleeding, scalding. So these are different stages like defeathering. So each step is important, and when we do hazard analysis, each step is being identified. So uh, all the checks which are there has to be based on the risk. Okay, and we need to modify if the risk is not being mitigated, or the control has not been enough to achieve the food safety. So like each step is important. Now here all the waste generated, whatever things are coming in contact has to be added there. You can see here one of the example like lierages, wherein the birds are stored, birds are rested for minimum 30 minutes. Then there is a, uh, I can say, to ensure they are cool, their health is being, they are not under stress. Okay, so the cooling thing is given. Then there is a antemortem inspection. Then there is unloading. Then there is a hanging. Then stunning. Then after that there is a slaughter. Okay, and then there is a bleeding, then scalding, evisceration is there. There is a post-mortem inspection, and then it goes to the spin chiller. Okay, spin chiller is mainly targeted to achieve a temperature from 40 to 4 degree, below 4 degree. So here also the control on reduction of killing of salmonella step is, which is very critical, is being achieved. Okay, so FSMS plan, just to refresh, physical, chemical hazard and biological hazards are there, which takes care of majority of the hazards. Allergen is also one of the hazard which is being there, but it can be considered under chemical hazard. You can consider allergen as a separate to focus, but in poultry slaughtering, mainly physical, chemical, and biological, allergen has to be considered there, because it has potential risk from people. Uh, Now coming to risk assessment. So risk assessment, which is a critical step, okay, in HACCP, and here this is a typical template. Now risk assessment can be logical approach, core based approach. Just like here, you can score it like you see risk assessment is about probability of occurrence. Now when we say unlikely, you can score it as a 1. Seldom, you can score it as a 2. Occasional, 3, 4, and frequent is 5. Okay, so it varies. When the risk is high, the score is high, or you can put it in a reverse way also. So it is a logical approach. It is like there is no standard for it, but you can make it as an organization. Now here, one important thing is risk will always change, but consequence will not change. Okay, what happens? Consequence for particular hazard will not change. It will be like, suppose salmonella is there in the product, it can be absent or it can be present. Okay, so in that case, the severity will be a disease, like severity will be a food safety issue, like metal is there. So probability can be seldom, or it can be frequent, or it can be unlikely. So frequency might vary. Okay, but severity will be there. So anybody who is consuming a metal will get an injury. Okay, there is a severity. It may be slight, but injury is a result. So that's the consequence. Okay, so you multiplying those, you will get a risk rating. So ultimately here, severe, major, significant. So you can decide what is the consequence. Like severe means a death. Major means can be a hospitalization for a longer duration. Significant can be a self limiting, or maybe a small 1 day hospitalization. So you have to define all these things. Okay. Now this is one more important slide wherein FSMS plan, which is again it's a codex decision tree to decide CCP. So here they have this is very good decision tree which helps us to decide whether the step is a CCP, or it's a normal control measure, or it needs modification. Like there are questions. Okay, so first questions, I'm not going to go into detail, but actually these questions are very specific. Like, is hazard managed by prerequisite program? Are control measure in place for the hazard? Okay, yes or no? It's a clear yes or no. So whenever there is a yes, you go to next question. Then if no, then you just reverse back and modify the steps. Okay, like example, we are going to take one example here after this slide. Question 3 is about, is process steps specifically designed? Okay, if answer is yes, it becomes a CCP. If answer is no, then could contamination with hazard occur at an unacceptable level or increase to an unacceptable level? Then answer is yes, it goes to next question. Answer is no, then it becomes a it's a PRP, or it might become OPRP. So OPRP is another concept in ISO 20000. Okay, then question 5 is about, will a subsequent process or step eliminate or reduce the hazard? This is very much important question. So if there is no step, if you say no, then it becomes a CCP. Okay, so you can see these questions are very important to decide CCP. So let's look at one of the example. Like I showed you carcass chilling, wherein there is a reduction of carcass temperature after evisceration from around 40 degree to 4 degree. Okay, so below 4 degree we say, below 4 degrees because again by ensuring that we reduce the e- prevalence or evidences of hygiene indicator organism or pathogen there. So here carcass chilling is important step, which is like physical parameters are there, chemical parameters are there. So we focus on biological. So microbial, this is a typical hazard analysis being done, but what are the requirement which we will discuss now? When we say microbiological is a hazard, but we need to specify which one. There can be E. coli, there can be salmonella. So raw poultry processing, we consider salmonella is, again here we take an example of salmonella. Okay, so likelihood of occurrence we say medium. So this risk medium means we need to consider, like here it can it can be there seldomly, or it can be occasionally. Okay, so here then severity we say high. So multiplying those, there is a MH, so medium and high. So here important, we need to assess it for the risk further, and then put the preventive or control. Now, whenever there is a slaughter of which is there, when we are doing it, it will be like in place. So control measures will be there. Preventive measure means it's like we are ensuring that things should not occur. Okay, so putting carcass washing uh, through this step by addition of the sodium hypochlorite, which is again 50 ppm, and then questioning that, like question one is hazard managed by prerequisite program? So here salmonella cannot be managed by prerequisite program, so answer is no. Then question 2 is, are control measure in place? So spin chill is again a control measure. Is in place? Yes. Then there is a yes means we have answered, so we have to go to third question. So is process step specifically designed? So here answer is yes. So that is the reason it has become CCP. Answer is yes. And then you go to question. You need not to go to the next question, because from here yes means CCP. So likewise we have achieved this. Now this is a particular spin chiller. Okay, so that is actually reducing the temperature of the bird carcass to below 4 degree, and also ensuring that the salmonella is not, because our regulatory standard requirement is salmonella should be absent. Okay, so this is the plan, HECCP plan, wherein we achieved that CCP, and then we have to use all the steps of HECCP. Like you can see, 7th step is record keeping. Okay, so likewise 6th, 5th, okay, 4th, and then 3rd, 2nd, and then we have conducted the hazard analysis. So like CCP number 1 here is chilling of dress bird, and hazard is like pathogenic microbes, which is typically a salmonella. Then critical limit is about bird temperature should be below 4 degrees Celsius. We should achieve that within 4 hours. So that's again a industry where the standardization or validation has been carried out. So it can be achieved within 4 hours from slaughters. Chlorine level has to be 50 to 70. Again, this is based on the scientific references as well as validated study by actual microbiological analysis. Okay, then monitoring is about monitoring of chlorine. Then how chlorine is monitored. I'm just talking about the one parameter. Now next slide will be about what criticalities are there to ensure that CCP is not deviated. Like you can say here, monitoring of chlorine by titration or test strip method. Then what we are going to monitor is about bird temperature by calibrated thermometer, when it will be hourly, where it is manufactured, where it's like wherever it is manufactured or it's coming out of chiller. Okay, that area or responsibility will be production supervisor or QA supervisor, uh, which is specifically reading, taking the reading. So here corrective action is immediate, sometime long term. Okay, sometime immediate and sometime long term, which is like immediate is chilling the bird to a core temperature of below 4 degree. It's a deepest muscle part. Then monitor adjusting the chlorine level. Long term can be like there can be temperature issues of the water, so you can have ice addition there, putting ice plant, and then or maybe uh, water chiller. So something like that, which takes time. Then verification, who will monitor, who will verify, who will take the reading, that's being specified, like what temperature and chlorine concentration, how with the thermometer. So again, this is a verification practice wherein another person who is not the person who is monitoring, so will take the reading. It can be 2 times a shift, it can be once in an hour, depending on the risk. Okay, if systems are stable, you can reduce the frequency of check-in. If systems are unstable, increase the frequency of testing. And then records. So there are multiple records. I have summarized here some of the records, like 89 HACCP records, critical limit validation record, bird temperature monitoring record, verification record, audit records, calibration record, correction record, corrective action record. So here I'll just describe one CCP, what different parameters and why those are important. Like suppose line speed is more, then what will happen? Your spin chiller will not be able to achieve the desired temperature in time. So line speed is important, and this has to be validated. Spin chilling time is important. Water pH is important. Now sodium hypochlorite acts 99% and above at particular pH, okay, particular temperature. So water temperature is also important. Ice addition per hour is important. Water addition per hour is important. Inlet water chlorine uh, level is addition is also important. Outlet water flow. So whatever water is coming out. So continuous addition. If the water is hot, that can be a problem. Agitation, air pressure is also important because that is also going to play important role in uniform distribution of the temperature. Then core temperature of bird, then free chlorine availability, chlorine dose or strokes, chlorine volume per stroke. Sometimes there is a airlock and chlorine is not getting added. In that situation, there will not be chlorine and salmonella will not die. So ultimately, this is also important parameter. And then concentration of chlorine stock solution. So what happens? No, there are different concentration available in the market, like 12%, 6%. And when we buy this, we need to also ensure that our chlorine addition is adjusted according to that concentration. Percentage water pickup is also important. Okay, so all these parameters are important to ensure that the CCP is working as per the intended use. Now to summarize, so there are various tools. Okay, again I will tell you that any tool, just like a knife, which can be used for cutting the vegetable, or it can be used to injure somebody. So it's up to us who is using the tool, okay, and how that tool is being used. So ultimately, all the standards which are there are helpful for us to effectively implement FSMS. The focus of FSMS is always about the ability to control food safety risk to consumer. Ultimately, consumer. Now, only in earlier session, the regulations are applicable to whom? So from farm to fork, okay, but farm and fork is excluded, like farmer is excluded and consumer is excluded, because we need to make sure those two things are safe to run the chain, okay, and ultimately entire responsibility comes to the food chain, okay, which is starting from farm to fork. And also we have to comply the regulatory requirements, so that is more important. uh, Again, the objective of regulatory requirement is also to ensure food safety. So FSMS is helping us to provide food safety in poultry supply chain or protein supply chain, and through application of the principles of HACCP and FSMS. FSMS cannot be implemented in isolation. Okay, it cannot, as it needs a culture of food safety. Now, the word food safety culture is coming up in various standard because of this reason. Because ultimately, when we say we have food safety culture, that means nobody is required to tell what food safety is. Okay, and that's the reason involvement of all stakeholders is required. So farmer is important, and consumer is also important. If we do all this thing and finally consumer is not cooking it properly, then it can be a problem. Okay, so thank you very much for listening to me. Any question, if are there, we can take it now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Siddheshwar, for very excellent information on the FSMS. Uh, Many aspects. I hope that the participants they have cleared, because uh, he has highlighted the FSMS implementation starting from the farm to fork, and the aspects of risk assessment in HACCP plan. And he has highlighted the food safety uh, aspects are needed in poultry supply chain, and the involvement of, as he has mentioned at the end, that involvement of all stakeholders is very important, including the farmers as well as the consumers. Very informative lecture, and in excellent manner uh, he has mentioned very simple way and diagrammatically uh, the presentation. Excellent information. Definitely participants they will get benefit. Now I request the participants Please, if you have any one or two questions, you can ask. Okay. I think the participants, as it indicates, they have mentioned in chat box that good presentation, very nice presentation, informative sessions. So all the participants, I think they understood because the presentation was like that. So I think no questions. So I once again thank our speaker for his physical presence. That is very important, as we have requested him and invited in a short period of time, and he has accepted our invitation and very delivered very excellent information, very informative in whatever the updated knowledge, because they are doing the practical implementation is very important in the whatever the food supply chain. That is very much important, and they are the real heroes that they are working, and they are making the awareness so that the all the consumers definitely and the farmers are the beneficiaries, and definitely they will be get the benefit of this such the information. Thank you once again,
Thank you.
Dr.
Thank you.
Siddeshwar, for your great thoughts, and thank you all the participants for your patience hearing. Okay. Uh, Now the announcement is that on Monday, 17th, we'll have two lectures. Uh, so we will meet again at 10:45 a.m. on Monday. That is 17th October 2022. Thank you, one and all. Thanks.